Well, you all look great this morning. Thank you so much for coming. This has been a very humbling experience. I'm still not quite sure what's going on or why I'm involved, but I'm glad. It's humbling. It's been a blessing. It's been a lot of fun. Anyway, let me welcome you all here. This is Sisters in the Spirit. It was, for those of you that this is your first time, it was a vision of Pastor Wesley's, and she agreed to open the doors of the church for a new women's ministry. And I'm Sasha. I'm the facilitator. As I was planning how this would come together, what it would be, I have a background in art. So one of the first things I did to wrap my mind around it was I wanted to make a little logo or some kind of picture to associate with the group, and I'm sure you've seen the flyers. And I kept thinking about, as my mom mentioned, the parable of the 10 virgins, which is found in Matthew 25. We all know the story. 5 virgins were wise, 5 were foolish. During the wedding celebration, the bridegroom, who they were all waiting for, was delayed in coming. The wise ladies had extra oil for their lamps, but the foolish women did not. When the bridegroom finally, his arrival was announced, all 10 virgins trimmed their lamps, but during the wait, all of the oil the foolish women had ran out. Because the wise ladies refused to share, the foolish virgins went out seeking more oil. They missed the bridegroom's arrival, and when they returned, the door was shut. Though they pleaded to be let in, the bridegroom said, "I do not know you." And as the bride of Christ, we also must be wise. We must be prepared. That's kind of the whole thing that I've seen in the background of this ministry, is that we're preparing ourselves and helping to prepare others. This is why the logo I chose for the group, it's an oil lamp. You'll notice it on the green banner. It's also to honor the Holy Spirit, of course. So we plan to meet right here every second Saturday of the month at 11 a.m., but this is subject to change. I put a yellow sign-up sheet in the back, and you're welcome to put your email address on it, and I'll keep you notified when we're going to meet. When we met in January, it was a great blessing. There were ladies here from different churches, different age groups, different cities, different backgrounds. God really showed up. He showed off, and it's His ministry anyway, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Another little note, sometimes on my flyers you'll notice a goldfish, and I hope none of you thought, what is that? Well, it came up during our first meeting. When we line up with God's will for our lives and put Him first, it's just like being a fish in water. You're where you belong. You've found your purpose. So today, I'm going to speak to you. I guess the title of my message would be The Importance of Loving Others. The main text comes from John 13:35. And it says, "By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." I have little subtitles for each section because I'm also a writer at heart, and that kind of helped me get organized for today. So the first part would be called the command. One thing that's unique about getting together like this is that often in the world, when you see a group of women together, they can't seem to get along very well. When you put a bunch of women in a small office, for instance, as some of you can testify, I'm sure, unfortunately there will be competition, we'll sabotage one another, there's jealousy, envy, and gossip. The weird thing is that I have seen this type of behavior in nature. And again, it's with a fish. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the fish that has to live alone. He's the betta fish. Sometimes they're also called Siamese fighting fish. That's why they're alone. I have one at home. His name is Spike. And because I used to work at PetSmart, I know a little bit about where they come from and why they have to be alone. In the wild, betta fish live in the jungle, in the rainforest, in little puddles of water. It's not like an ocean or a lake. It's just little puddles you would find on the ground. And unlike just about every other fish that God created, the betta fish can live in such a small area because he breathes air, like dolphins do. He has to come to the top and take a little breath. This is not normal. Most fish have gills. They breathe air, it'll kill them. So they hang out in their puddles and they wait. They're very good at looking up, and they wait for food to land on the surface of their home, and then they go up and they eat it. They can even see flying insects and jump out of the water and get it. So if I'm a male betta fish and I'm living alone in my little hole, and another male betta fish jumps into my home, how do you think I'm going to respond? He's going to compete with me for food, for oxygen, for space, because it's a small space, and for females, should we find one. So I'm going to kill him so that my chances for survival are increased. It's the fish's nature. And sometimes when I look at Spike, I think he's happy, I don't know. But he's all by himself. I mean, he has to live his entire life by himself. He interacts with me and Mom, but he can't have another fish. And you might think he's lonely. I've tried this. Maybe he's lonely. No, it's in his nature. He will kill another fish. He's got to stay by himself. Fish aren't saved, obviously. They don't know any better. As Christians, we have to know better than to be fighting like that. We may have the same nature, but when we come to Christ, he changes that. So as I said, the text is John 13:35. By this all will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. It reminds me, I have a song that says, they will know we are Christians by our love. So this is, John of course is one of the Gospels. He's telling the story of Christ's life, death, and resurrection. But this particular quote, by this all will know that you are my disciples, this is Jesus speaking. It comes directly from Jesus' lips. Loving one another, then, is obviously crucial to the Christian walk. One of the 10 Commandments states that we are to love our neighbors as ourselves. In fact, Matthew 5:44 challenges us to even love our enemies. This does not come naturally. It's not in our nature. Just about everywhere you look in popular culture, the opposite is celebrated. Do you remember some years ago a popular catchphrase was, talk to the hand? Yeah. I mean, a bad attitude is just celebrated everywhere we go. You see it in popular TV shows. There's one called Justified, and it's about a U.S. Marshal, and he has a reputation for shooting his enemies like a quick draw artist from the Wild West. So if you come up against him and there are no witnesses, he's more likely to shoot you than worry about arresting you or whatever. And because there are no witnesses, his shootings are often deemed justified. And he goes on wearing his badge and nothing happens to him.